We're going to discuss the fact that you don't even have to believe in God to be holy, to be illumined. You don't have to believe in anything. The most innocent people I know in my life, my friend, different friends over my life, they're just so pure and innocent and simple and decent, and unless you're very quiet and calm within, you don't know who they are, and they rarely know who they are. And this is mixing in with the understanding that we live in a transcendent universe if you're spiritual, if you're kind, if you're humble, if you're decent, if you're true. You're not captured by the everyday haunts where people, they make a stand in different areas of the material lifestyle. This thing called mysticism, which is a union with God in your experience, in your consciousness, is a very pure and simple state of being. It's beyond religion. It's beyond truth or understanding or knowing. But it's not beyond the wisdom of the sage meaning the wise one, meaning you who understand these things and know how to reach out and bring in the lost to the fold, not because they're lost, but because the world is a hell and they volunteered for this duty. If you're a spiritual person and you're living in this world today, you're here of your own volition because you care, because you have a conscience, and you actually appeared in this seeming world. Seeming will hit that point real clearly in all traditional mystical searches. The searchers, the one who looks for God, for union with God, have seen the world as an illusion. Absolutely no more. In Christianity, you can see the world as a way station to eternity, where if you do such and such, then you get to the next level, which is heaven, perhaps. And if you have this higher consciousness, which is what we're discussing today, there's no heaven and earth, there are no worlds, there's no time, there are no machines or people or places. There's just an openness and innocence that certain people live with that are unbeknownst to their own selves. They are God's eyes in this world, and they pay the price. But they blame no one. They simply witness that there is a hell, and that would be this seeming world. It's an illusion. And we're all lost in certain areas of this experience that is an illusion. Now let me get very directly clear, if you'll forgive me on this. I am a mystic, like my sisters are. My friend here is. We are very quiet and calm. We're not even part of the world. It's non-existent. And as soon as I say that, I lost track with everything I'm saying up till now, because that's where we all live. I was looking at a page of Evelyn Underhill. She was a professor in Oxford, I guess, maybe a little more than 100 years ago. She wrote a bunch of books about mysticism. And just a dream of a teacher. And I saw how she had to find the words, and she found the words to describe God consciousness and how you live in this world without ever mentioning God so much, just more this openness, this area of awareness where you're aware that it's not you. And this is a burning hot emotion. If you're a mystic, you know there's a way out of this. You know you don't have to live with the inanity, the insanity, the indecency of so many around us. It's really untoward. It's creepy. The subtle little things people do and the circumstances you arrive in. So when you have this faith, this burning hot faith in existence, in God, in truth. It is something worthy of our attention. And that's what this little talk is about. And I say talk, it's an empowerment talk. When I'd spend time with my friend Baba Bedi in India, we would talk like normal human beings, and maybe we'd have a cup of tea, and I'm not sure if Frida would be there, his wonderful wife, whatever, and she was an illumined being and a saint, and a great, 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 great teacher. And conversations without ever having to use the words were always very mystical. You would disappear, the room, the sense of it, the sound of it would disappear into a quietude that you can't explain, but it's very natural. To be illumined is to be a holy person. It's just to have this innocence, this openness, this kindness, this simple joy of existence. And if you can find one or two people in your life that share that with you, then that's a miracle. That's what a miracle is. Not that your broken leg is fixed the next day, but that you can have that kind of camaraderie with a like-minded soul that just lives in this innocence. I have it with my friend Susan here. There are many people that have this. It has nothing to do with, it's not personal, it's an impersonal personableness. It's transcendent. It has nothing to do with you or the person or your lives. It's just an openness, a warmth, a kindness, a decency, and again, a camaraderie. It's a miracle. If you have a friend like that in your life, light a candle for them at night. They are God. There is a God, but God is an infinite innocence. So if you are one of these mystics, this type personality, we'll find we all have someone in our life like that. To some degree, it could be a grandmom. It's always a grandmom, isn't it? She doesn't take place in the everyday discipline, but she is, so she's allowed to give the pure love she feels in her heart. If you're the mom or dad, you're there to discipline, to train, to bring your child along, to learn how to make it in this world, how to live, how to mature, and all that, and you give your life up to that. And there's something mystical in that. If you do it right, that's a miracle. But we're talking about the sense of it. What is innocence? What is this thing called God, this presence? You'll see so many people that preach the word, that preach the gospel, and it's just something warm that you discuss over the fireside with a warm cup of tea. I know when I spent a lot of time in India or England, my friends would always have tea time at 4 o'clock. Everything would stop, and you'd have tea, and it was just an elegant, open atmosphere that happens from that. In our country today, we've lost sense of this miracle of simplicity. And you find God in that ritual. Everything should be ritual. It's a stepping stone to this higher consciousness. And no matter what's happening in our life, we have to find daily time out to commune with our Father and our friend, God. Might see it in a friend's eyes, always. And one point I want to make very clear that I intended to bring into this today is the fact that these people, my friend Corinne, or Kathleen, or Joanne many years ago, or I got a friend that's a cop locally. He has this completely aware of God always, but they do not know that they're enlightened, that they're holy, that they're powerful, that they're true. It's something quite natural. And you never think you're anything when you are this. And you're everything. You are this. God is a friend we find in our own heart, in our family, our grandchild's eyes and arms. It's just a humanness that you shudder and quake at the thought of it. It's not jumping up and cheering at the game. I'll be honest with all my guy friends here. I do not care. It doesn't touch me at all watching any game. I have friends that are professional players of the games, and it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not excited by it. I'm excited by innocence, by joy, by wonder, by kindness. And all this touches the outer edges of spirituality, of mysticism, of this wondrous condition called illumination, enlightenment, nirvikalpi samadhi in the Sanskrit, God consciousness, the vision of God. And to me, it's the vision I see in my friends' eyes. And like I say, the people I've known that are that innocent don't even know if they believe in God or not, or they might have different terms for it, because they're just simply existing with a simplicity and kindness. And maybe this is important right here, there's the humility about it. So you'll accept blame for all kinds of disturbances in your life, and you'll allow it to stick at times. Because this world is a hell. It's not meant to be. It doesn't have to be. And we're going to move to the fact that this world really is not such a big deal. I live with this thought. I'm speaking for hundreds of millions of people who have this mystical atmosphere. I always live with this thought. I don't care about anything. It's no big deal. I know it's an illusion, but I don't sit around, being mad or lighting candles, or it's just I mean, because I have people that light candles and afraid of Satan to hurt me over the years. Because if you are I remember I asked my friend Baba Beatty twice I asked someone a spiritual question in my life, and I asked him about why I would be hit by this dark stuff on me, and he said the taller the tree, the longer the shadow. That was one of two questions I ever asked. And then I asked my friend John Buxbasin about meditation once, and that's the only two people, and they were Lumen, they were buddies, and I asked them about a spiritual question. Otherwise, it's just there. It just is. So when you simplify yourself with any kind of meditation, prayer, making as much as you can a ritual in your life, and you'll find that if, we said a few weeks ago that the cortex, whatever you call the prefrontal cortex, that's hell. If you step aside from that, you'll be in this wonder. There are endless self-enhancement, spiritual enhancement techniques that will shut this thing down or will discipline it, and you'll step right aside. It's as though, like, it's if there was no prefrontal cortex, like with all the animal kingdom. They have the reptilian brain, where they have unsurpassed instincts. They don't have to think about it. They can be as kind and wonderful and human until the absolute moment that they see that there is a real danger. Then they'll react. Until then, they won't bark, they won't meow, they won't whatever. Until that moment, all is well. That's in regards, I know, I've heard people, well, animals don't have souls, because no, you don't have a soul. There just is soul. So my friend has a cat, Zachary, and it's just pure love. And if something weird was around, Zach would act. But Zach don't have to act, because there's very little weirdness around a cat that owns the abode. And they should. I have friends that, well, I don't like cats, I like dogs. Well, the point is, there's no like or dislike, unlike, there just is. Isness, 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 isness. So we quiet ourselves with some of these spiritual enhancement, self-enhancement techniques, meditations, they're all the same. And there are all these involved, deep, deep teachings, the Buddhist teachings in Sanskrit that I've thousands that I've. It's just, it doesn't matter. It's very human. You don't have to sit a certain way, or do yoga, or stretch, or even pray. The air is supplanted by kindness and wonder. When you know Him, the only God. Excuse the wording, it doesn't matter where we go with it. In the beginning was the Word and all that. It's like, it doesn't matter. You just have to know there's a God at a point to protect your own beingness, and you won't do it for you. That I can tell you. You'll do it for someone else. It's like the mom that lifts the 2-ton car to let a child out. It's, that mother bear thing. There's nothing like it. So when you love others fully, completely, like Greg does. Greg loves people more than I've ever known. He's the most responsible man I've ever known. It's kind of boring, but he works for people 24 hours a day, all of his life, and the most strenuous kind of work or movement or drive or anything to do something, and he's a world-class fighter in different disciplines, and that's the only time I'll ever turn it on. You step in the ring, ding, boom, get out of the way. Because he trains people to protect themselves that way. He's a choir boy and with a lot of black belts all over him and a lot of victories. And he just does the right thing all day. So all we do is do the right thing for ourselves by not believing in Satan, which is the world, which is hell. All these terms are kind of funny. The whole world's kind of funny. That's why I say read Evelyn Underhill's books about mysticism. And there are 10,000 other books, and find different ones at different times will capture you, and you'll learn 1 or 2 things that you didn't know before. More in a way, you'll learn about yourself and know you'll plant your own spiritual heart in the earth here, and the earth will disappear. There is nothing in the center of the earth. Nothing. There is no earth. There are no centers. Time never was. Never could be. Only you, the simplicity of you, the kindness of you. That's where you'll find Him, our Father and our friend. Looking out from your eyes. And what's that say of you? There's nobody home in the world. In the Bible, Jesus said that foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay His head. In other words, the illumined one, the spiritual one, we're not part of what's here. We don't agree or disagree with anything. We simply meld right through it in a sweetness and a kindness and a simplicity and a humanness that the mystics enjoy. It's so wonderful to know Him. It's so much more wonderful to know you. You are as God is. When you let loose whatever binds you to this earth, you'll find God meditating upon God. But the words, I see it's tricky. We have to find a better word than God. So mysticism. Let that supplant in our consciousness this openness, this kindness. When you think of mysticism, think of Zachary, the cat. Think of Holly, my buddy's dog, just the best human being I've ever known and the best dog I've ever known. Insofar as being present for others completely, absolutely, without a hairline of self-consciousness. Hard to believe, isn't it? Well, I know Holly. I know God, and I know Zachary. There is a God. Let him look out from your eyes. I'm not saying let him heal your soul. God is your soul. And it's a conscious experience. So if we just allow this to happen, it will happen. Please allow this to happen. And all the individuated senses we have about it and our own consciousness about it, it'll all go away. Just go direct to the Godhead and allow it to be you. I know, as one of many millions of spiritual people, I have all powers. There are gifts and powers when you're spiritual. And I've seen people get excited, they're in their 20s and they go to the metaphysical, the spiritual bookstore, and nowadays you're online, whatever. Point is, gifts and powers, like, who cares about anything in the world? That's all I do, let go of everything. And then of course you'll discover areas in your consciousness. I know I can heal anything because sometimes it can take 200 years. I know I was with a great person who was and asked one time because their life was so horrible. And they were a human being, and I said sometimes, it was hard for me to say, it could take 200 years for certain things to work out, but that person has become my teacher and gives these classes from time to time, and no one can know it because there's no man, woman, this, that, height, depth, what country, what language, it just is. I've had very mystical friendships with people who don't speak a word of whatever my language is. There is no language. No time, no circumstances. Just a simplicity and an openness in our consciousness. You ever been affected by something where you just, isn't that wonderful? And you just can't believe it, and it's just nice. Wouldn't it be lovely to feel that all day? To know that all day and forever? I feel that, I know that all day forever. My friend Baba Beatty did, my teacher does. It's just nice to be alive, to be conscious. And to know you do not have to take it anymore. When you build this atmosphere up, you're living in another universe. You might appear to be here to others, but you know the only here is Godness. It's such a sublime sense of ecstasy and joy and wonder. It's like looking at a grandchild's eyes. You want to die. But it's just sweet. You allow yourself to die, and it's just a sweetness, and you're lifted up into the same place. The point is that all the religious sentiment, even spiritual or mystical, you'll get to God through poetry, through a little girl's eyes. When you think of God, you don't get there through some complex ritual. You'll find God playing with your children. You'll find them visiting the flowers in your garden. That sense of innocence in your heart, that's the real you, the true you. It's not psychological or even spiritual. It's certainly not religious. It's poetic justice to find God, and then that'll be your greatest gift, to judge the world. To judge, to see that it's a mistaken consciousness. It doesn't really exist. When you're in this mystical atmosphere, very clear right now, you'll have such overwhelmingly wonderful expressions of God that will pass through you and from you and to you day and night from others, like I mentioned, my friend before that, well, who's a teacher now, or was then, but they're mostly so affected by this world, they're so beaten and browbeaten that they'll accept that there's something wrong with them when there's nothing wrong with them. So when you meet someone like that, hold their hand, light a candle, believe in them. They believe in God, and they've given themselves, they are the holy ones hanging on a cross, and that's the meaning of it. Please assist them. Light a candle for the good people who are trapped in this world. And they're trapped of their own kindness and humility. Speaking for myself, I feel like I'm nothing and no one all day, every day. I can't even believe when certain people like me or something. I'm like, because I'm nothing, I'm nobody. And that's not a bad thing. Because we're nobody. And that's the sense you have when you're in love. You just want to be there for your friend. And there's nothing else. There's no machinations, there's no time, there's no circumstance. There's just a heart that bleeds with an openness and a kindness and a simplicity. That's why all the songs are about love and so forth, and the great poems are love or death or truth, these emotions that are so powerful. But the most powerful of all is to be nothing. And then you'll see Him. You are God. It's a higher consciousness. It's not a contradiction. There are no enemies or friends. Just this simplicity that Evelyn Underhill talked about in her books of mysticism. It's just a wonder and a joy ever springing from the soul. You're that. And God or your own self has never intended that we live through this horribleness of life in the human sphere. But I'm going to speak as one of my experience all day, every day. Is infinite universes of, there are no words. Read the great poetry, the great books about spirituality. It's all real, it's always there all the time. But, and I'm saying this in relevance to the fact of the world and the end of the world. It doesn't exist. There are unimaginable universes. And to be here, if you're spiritual, you'll be aware that you had to fall through. One time it took for me, I was taken up to heaven, like they say in the Bible, in a cloud, and given something by God to do, and falling back in your consciousness to this world took me like 20 minutes of where in one moment you feel the whole universe, and then to fall back into this world. In other words, it is a lost hellscape, whereas spirituality is a beautiful sunscape. It's just stupid. What is Satan? It's stupidity. It's not believing in God, not having an open heart. And it's all in consciousness. So this is meant to be in spiritual empowerment. You just feel the words of it and see this is who you are, and it cuts through all the morass, all the words and the thoughts and the theology and the fighting the dark forces and all. Yeah, the dark forces, but you're a little off base if you're in there giving them that. It doesn't even exist. Seek God. God seeks you. God is you. And to just discover that while you're in this world will give you the power and the purposefulness to end all the madness. You'll heal everyone around you. And it's a tremendous workload. You won't actually sleep. You'll be so riveted, it's so on it. You'll be on the case. You'll be Sherlock Holmes. You'll know it's always Moriarty. Remember that? No matter what the problem was, he'd get a newspaper and there something was going on, the professor in Germany, and he'd know that's Moriarty. It's Moriarty meaning, whatever it was, meaning the devil. And then it's just simple, good literature. So it's fun. There's always the devil, but the devil is nothingness. And yes, I've met the devil in person. I've been attacked by the guy, best ever possessed person, and it's very, very impressive when you have these visions, you're around beings like that. And all this exists, but when you're kind, it doesn't exist. I see my friend Kobohito, the world champion professional wrestler, or whatever he was in Mexico City, and a buddy, and he's a true samurai. And I just see him, and he's never said that or thought it. And I kept telling him the last few times I saw him, you're a Buddha, you're a Buddha. He's so devoid of self-consciousness, but there's a beauty to that, a humility to it that's an emotion that's endlessly more wonderful than anything in the world. So there's no self-consciousness. When I look at him, I go like this and I bow. And first time I saw him, I walked across a large room with people there, and I just walked over and went like that and walked back to my friends. And but there's nothing personal about being spiritual. There can be. So no rules, no laws about it. There are no particulars. God is you. No more counterfeit gods. It's you, isn't it you? Aren't you wonderful and decent and kind? And isn't it remarkable that you existed in this stupid life this long, gone this far, tried this hard, and you still apply the golden rule, you still do unto others, right? And you still have wonder in your heart and joy, you still want love. It's like I talked to a friend the other day, I'm almost 80, and it doesn't matter. It's like, it was like no one, I was talking to a couple of people at a friend's place, and we're all, yeah, like you wouldn't give up one moment you want to go back, because the older you are, if you're a mature person, the more wisdom you have, the more you realize how lost everyone else is. I look at anyone under 75 as a child, because the more mature you are, there's a grace. I remember I had this gorgeous carpet, Chinese carpet once. I mean, gorgeous. I had a few of them. I bought them for friends. Just a beautiful old-fashioned one, the real, and different ones. Mine was like white, very light, with a little blue, and that's for an older person. In other words, if you have a traditional culture where, you know, and every culture has their different ways of expressing these things, that's what you have for after you've done your work, you've arrived, you have a home, you have your grandchildren, your wife, so you're more contemplative, your life is. And these things are throughout the world. But we can be more contemplative now. I was when I was 19. My dad was always worried about me when I was 16. And until I did certain things that he considered really manly, and he was worried about me, then I was okay. And that's your parents' job, is to make sure you arrive okay. And then they're happy. And God is your parent. And you're the parent of all the friends that have decency. Raise them well. It's within you. It's why we are here in this lower consciousness. To pull our friends and loved ones and all the decent that we meet out from the burning fires of hell. Which this is, but again, you can do all these words, but you see the simplicity inside is, and it's gone. It's gone with a whisper. Heal those you love, by letting them know what you love in their eyes and in their soul. Understand that all the attacks on your dignity from birth till this moment are unnecessary, are just part of this lower consciousness, and understanding it is the end of conflict, the end of war, and birth and rebirth. You are the Holy Child. You certainly are. Thank you.